to our virtual education program. My name is Catherine Shepard, and I'm the Education Coordinator with the Alzheimer Society, and I'm located in Cape Breton. During the COVID crisis, we are not offering any of our face-to-face programming, and so instead, we are using the Zoom platform so that we all do stay connected together. Please feel free to ask any questions that you can have using the private and confidential chat box that's addressed to the Alzheimer Society of Nova Scotia. That's the host, and they'll go right to Beth. If you don't see it, use your mouse and hover near the bottom of the page there, and you should see a little chat box that's in the middle. You can click on that and it should pop up for you. And remember to always press enter at the end of your message so that it will reach us. Questions will only be seen by us at the Alzheimer Society, and we will get to those at the end of our presentation. For the best viewing, we suggest using the speaker view, which you can see in the top right-hand corner of your screen. If you see speaker view, then just click on it, and it should make whoever's speaking the largest picture on your screen. Our audience today includes people living with dementia, people caring for someone with dementia, and people who want to learn more. A reminder again that this session is being recorded. Your microphones and cameras have been turned off, so your faces and voices will not be part of this recording. Today's topic is InfoLine, a journey of support. And it's a topic that we are getting a lot of questions about, and we have a lot of people that do take part in this InfoLine support, which is wonderful. We will have about a 20 to 30 minute presentation, followed by about 20 minutes of questions and answers. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker today. Our speaker is Cara Guthrow-Murgatroyd. She's located in the Halifax office, and she is the Coordinator of Education and Support Services. Cara is a wealth of knowledge on the InfoLine. She's been with the Society and supporting people on their journey for over 11 years, and so brings with her a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping and supporting people. Cara's also the very proud mommy of a graduated son with a graduation happening last night. So she's flying on cloud 9 right now with all that happiness. So please let me sit back, and I hope you enjoy your presentation with Cara.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, I'm still flying high from the graduation festivities, so quite wonderful. Thanks for that lovely introduction. So this afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. Today, as Catherine had said, we will be looking at our InfoLine service, which is really a journey of support. We thought that was probably an apt title to describe what we do on InfoLine. But before we actually begin to talk a little bit about InfoLine, it's probably first necessary to describe the philosophy that we use at the Alzheimer Society of Nova Scotia, which is a person-centered care philosophy. And really, it's the essence of everything that we do at the Society. So when we think about what is person-centered care, it really enables us to look at individuals, recognizing individuals, their unique needs, their values, and their preferences. And we respect that each person has the right to be treated with dignity, compassion, respect, and of course, most importantly as well, is to participate fully in the decisions that guide their lives. And so, of course, that's people with dementia, and also for the family members who call to connect with us for our InfoLine service as well, which is really, really important. So we also focus on the person's strengths and abilities. In all of our programs, when we begin to discuss dementia and the impact that dementia has, we never lose sight of the individual. And when we're working with families and supporting families, we always check in with them to ask them what the abilities are. What are the things that your family member still enjoys doing? What are they still capable of? And so it's really looking at a person's abilities and of course seeing the person first as opposed to seeing the illness itself. So really important to keep that in our frame of mind when we're looking at the InfoLine service that we provide. And so thinking about person-centered care, an example of how the Alzheimer's Society really focuses on the individual with dementia. Back in 2018, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada actually launched the first ever Canadian Charter of Rights for people with dementia. And so, of course, that was a collaboration with a number of people, a number of Canadians who are living with dementia. And so the charter was really a landmark culmination of over a year's work by the Society's advisory group, which consisted of people with dementia, whose members represented walks of life from across the country, which is really important to have that national input into such a significant charter, which reflects the needs of people with dementia. So the advisory group, it's set out to define a set of explicit rights to give a greater voice and authority to people living with dementia. And the charter helps people, will help people, continue to help people into the future, as well as their families, challenge situations that people may experience regarding stigma, or if they're treated unfairly, if they're discriminated against, or denied access to appropriate care because of the diagnosis. So if you look at our image here in the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see an image of the Canadian Charter of Rights for People with Dementia. Off to the side, you'll see a quote of Marilyn Taylor, who is an amazing woman who advocates for herself and for other people that are living with dementia. And Marilyn was on the advisory group to inform this charter for people with dementia. And so I'd like to read out her quote for you, which I think is extremely important for all of us to pay attention to listen to, and of course to respect. "I don't hide that I have Alzheimer's, but it's my choice when and how to talk about it. Our Charter of Rights is a reminder for me and those who interact with me that I am still here and I am still a person." So again, very poignant words from Marilyn, and it gets back to that sense of the importance of person-centered care. In the University of Waterloo, they have a program, Marie Alzheimer Research and Education Program, where they've created by us, for us guides. So they're guides full of strategies created by people with dementia, for people with dementia. So the saying goes is nothing for us without us. And that's a very person-centered frame of philosophy as well. Okay, so what is InfoLine? So the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia, InfoLine, it's a province-wide community-based service. And what we do is we provide supportive counseling in the form of information. Also in regard to education, referral to other services within the community, or the community, it could be the community that you live in, or it could be another part of the province where your family member with dementia is living. So we refer you to those services in your community. And of course, we provide ongoing support through the progression of the disease, through the journey of the disease. Okay. Some of you may not know that the InfoLine was actually established back in 2002, the spring of 2002. So the majority of our clients who call into InfoLine are people, primarily are the caregivers of people, or partners in care, family members and friends of people living with dementia. Over the years, we've had more people, though, in the last little while, we've been getting more people with recent diagnoses of Alzheimer's disease. So we have more people who are living in the early stage of the disease who reach out to us to connect with us, or it could be a person who has some concerns about their own memory, and they will call us and we walk them through that step-by-step process to get a diagnosis. And so they come to us earlier and we're able to connect with them. So it could be the family member or a friend, often an adult child, or the partner of a person with dementia, the person themselves, the person living with the disease, as well as healthcare professionals, health service professionals, as well as students sometimes, and the general public. So the majority of calls, as I said, are primarily from people with dementia, their families, their friends as well. Okay, so how do you become an InfoLine client. In 2012, we began a FirstLink pilot project in which healthcare professionals would directly refer their client or patients to the Alzheimer's Society, primarily through the InfoLine. So this service is expanded to today across Nova Scotia, and we're working within the FirstLink model of service. So who are the people, obviously, that come to us? So they can come to us through a direct referral. So that would be somebody, a family physician, or a nurse, or a geriatrician, or it could be a geriatric, maybe a geriatric neurologist or psychiatrist who refers the person from a geriatric clinic into the Alzheimer's Society, to the FirstLink program, InfoLine. It could be social workers as well. We have a number of social workers who will refer their clients onto us at the Alzheimer's Society for continued support. And we have a number of nurses that work in primary health care and in community care who will refer their patients and their clients to us at the Alzheimer's Society. Lately, we've actually had quite a few referrals from occupational therapists and physiotherapists as well, who work through the community health in your town, in your city. So they find out about some of our programs, and they call us to get more information about it, and then ultimately we may get a referral from them for their client to get access to our service. You do not need to have a direct referral to get access to the Alzheimer's Society. You can pick up the phone, so you can contact us directly through a self-referral, and that can occur at any time, actually, when we look at that self-referral. So direct referrals from healthcare professionals can really give families the opportunity to receive support 11 months sooner than they would have if a person were to self-refer. So really, really important to get the information that people need earlier rather than later. And if you happen to be a healthcare professional and you're looking for more information about how I can refer my clients or my patients to the Alzheimer's Society, give us a call. Also visit our website as well, and you can do a quick search for FirstLink, and there is a process there, and we actually have FirstLink referrals online and a step-by-step process of how you refer your clients to us at the Alzheimer's Society. So connecting to us, to the Alzheimer's Society. Don't you just love that picture of the old telephone there? I don't know if anybody recognizes that, the old dial-up telephone. That's pretty cool. It's a classic now. So anyway, how can you reach us? How do you connect with us at the Alzheimer's Society? Pick up your phone, give us a call. You can also send questions to us, or you can ask us about our services or strategies, tips, whatever it may be, through email. Email is an option that you have. For those of you who may have a difficult time in discussing the disease and its impact, call us and you can book an appointment. So we do have in-person appointments as well. So just give the admin a call and we can book you an appointment. All right. We actually have a little picture there of a letter, and they're kind of odd to see letters these days, but anyway, we do encourage you. You can send us notes in the mail, but often what we do is we send out info kits to people, so it's resources and materials that we send out to you by post, so that you have the opportunity to review the information that we share with you. And I think the most important thing too about that information that we send to you by mail, by post, is having the time to process the information, reflect on the information, and by reflecting on that, that may generate more questions for you. And at which point at that process, we can discuss a follow-up. So, and I'll talk about more about follow-ups through the InfoLine service in a few minutes. Lately, with the changes that have been occurring, obviously with social isolation because of COVID, we have been connecting with our clients through social media. And so primarily we've been using Zoom for Healthcare as a platform. So that's something fairly new for us. And as we're using today, we're actually using Zoom for Healthcare as well to provide our virtual education sessions to you. Okay, moving along. Who calls InfoLine? So as I said earlier, it's often people who are concerned about changes that they've experienced, whether it be in memory, and maybe it's changes in personality or things that they used to be able to do that they're having difficulty with. So they may have some concerns. They'll call us and ask us a few questions about, what should I do? So it could be a person that's concerned about their own memory, or it could be a person that is living with a type of dementia. The other people, obviously, that call us at the InfoLine are actually people supporting a person with dementia at home, in the community, or in long-term care. Healthcare professionals will call us as well, and can be our client. And the general public. As I said earlier, you don't have to have an appointment. You don't have to have a direct referral. You can self-refer yourself. Okay, so why would I call? Okay, so we'll tell you a little bit about what we do with our InfoLine service. So we provide information. I'll go through these each of these points. So it's information that we provide, education, support, a referral to not just our resources, but resources of other community organizations and programs that we think might be helpful to you. And then finally, it's sort of that navigation piece of what is available in the healthcare system, or maybe it's in the community system, maybe it's recreation. So we help with that navigation piece. So from an information perspective, we provide information to help you at different stages along the journey. We tailor information. The information packages, or info kits, is what they're usually referred to. We really individualize those dependent upon your unique needs. So you could be looking for information on a specific type of dementia, or perhaps you're looking for some tips and strategies on caregiving. We can provide that to you. We have a wealth of information that we can provide. So as far as education is concerned, we provide education about the disease, about how the symptoms can affect an individual, and not just the individual, but also how the disease affects those who support people with dementia. We can also give an overview of not just Alzheimer's disease, but also the other causes of dementia, which could be a conversation around vascular dementia. It could be a conversation or an understanding of Lewy body disease. What's the difference? How do the symptoms differ? And also atypical forms of dementia. So things like posterior cortical atrophy. You may come to us because there isn't a lot of information that you can find. So you are able to use us as a source, and we can get that information to you. So from the support standpoint, often families, after receiving a diagnosis, people can feel overwhelmed, and they may not know exactly where to start. So our staff are knowledgeable, we're compassionate listeners, and we provide the ongoing follow-up support. So it's not just a one-time deal. We continue to follow up with you through the progression of the journey, which is really important. So we receive calls from people who have been trying to cope on their own, and they get to the point where they're feeling a little overwhelmed. We can help with that. We can help families identify what their top priorities are, provide them with the resources so that they can make informed decisions about the care that they're receiving for themselves, or about the care that they're providing to their family member with dementia, which is really, really important. So as far as the resources are concerned, we have a number of materials through ASC, a number of fact sheets, but we can provide you with contact numbers and strategies for addressing concerns, and we can do that in an expedient manner. So we usually get the information to you. If it's by email, you get it pretty much within a couple of hours. If it's by post, it may be a few days before you get the information. But we try to get the information to you as quickly as we possibly can. And if we don't have the answer to your question, we will find the answer to the question through our connections with primary health as well, which is really important to have that strong relationship. Navigation. So we assist with system navigation. So it could be the referral to a government program like continuing care. What's available? What is continuing care? We have those conversations. So what is the supportive care program? What is respite? What is that? What does it look like? So we get a variety of questions from people around different supports, or maybe they don't know that these resources exist. So we get them in connection with those resources, provide them with the numbers that they need. So it could be an adult day program. It could be a caregiver support group. So a variety of ways that we're able to help people to navigate the systems that exist. So some of the benefits, I've already spoke about them just in our prior slide there, but really it's that individualized education and support. So your journey with the disease is going to be very different than somebody else's. So it's really important for us to try to meet you where you are and address any questions or concerns that you have in the moment. So if it's something like an atypical form of dementia, we may have to do a little bit of research too, in order to provide you with the information that you need. So as I say, it's individualized. It depends upon your unique situation. We work with you from the beginning, and we want to ensure that we don't try to overwhelm you with too much information to scare you. So again, I can't stress enough the fact that we do meet you where you are and then move forward at your pace, which is really, really important. We provide confidential follow-up. So confidentiality is key in ensuring that you know that your information is safe with us, that you're comfortable in sharing, and that you trust that the information that we provide and that you share to us is secure, it's confidential. So we have policies around confidentiality, which we're quite proud of, actually. So, and the follow-up is key as well. People may not realize that it's not just one call that you receive from us. We may say, okay, things are going really well, like we've given you sort of a snapshot of what we do. We've provided you with some ideas on maybe social programs, maybe educational programs for yourself, but then we offer a follow-up. It could be a follow-up call in 6 months' time to see if things have changed, because we do know, because dementia is a disease which impacts a person's abilities, there will be changes along the way, and also changes in the way we support. And so the support that you need today may be very different than the support that you require in 3 to 4 months. So we're here for you. We can work through those changes with you. So that's why we have that follow-up. The navigation of the healthcare system, that's another benefit, obviously, and we talked about that. Referral to helpful services or resources, future planning. And so what I mean by that, the future planning is beginning a conversation with you about some of the things that you might want to consider. So it could be around legal issues, it could be around medical, personal care issues. So future planning is really having the conversation with you, if you're the person with dementia, to say, have you thought about getting a power of attorney, and who would you like to make decisions, financial and legal decisions on your behalf? Who do you trust to make those decisions? So it sort of plants the seed to start those conversations. And a personal directive would be, okay, who would I like to ensure that my wishes are followed, my personal care, my medical wishes. If I have a specific dietary need, I want to make sure that it's being followed. So I'm going to write all of those personal directives down and share them with the people that I trust and the people that are closest to me. The other benefit, obviously, it's that the isolation that people can have in any type of caring role that you play, or for any person who has a diagnosis of any type of disease or illness or condition. Sometimes we feel isolated, we feel disconnected. So our staff at the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia are really good at connecting. That's that follow-up. It's the follow-up support and letting you know that we hear you. We've worked with so many families who have had various needs, various demands, various challenges, but also we hear the inspiration, we hear the hope as well. And we can share that with you to help with that reduction of isolation that you may feel. So it's another, key advantage of connecting with us at the Alzheimer's Society. And then, of course, we have a plethora of programs that we've developed at the Alzheimer's Society for people with dementia, for caregivers, and also for frontline healthcare staff. So we have support groups for people who are living with early stage dementia. We have support groups for caregivers. We have education for people in early stage of dementia with our Shaping the Journey program. We have education for caregivers, family caregiver education series, which some of you I hope have taken in the past or will in the future. And we also have training, You First training, which looks at the behavior, understanding behavior. And that is specifically for people who work in long-term care and frontline, giving education to or training frontline staff on behaviors. So just sort of a bit of a snapshot of what we do as far as referring people through InfoLine to some of our other services as well. Okay, and so of course our knowledge is backed by many years of experience. So generally when people come to us, they may not have a lot of experience. So they may not have had a person in their family that they've cared for with dementia. So it's all new. There's so much new learning, and with that new learning comes fear and a sense of uncertainty. So we try to alleviate that concern by providing you with the tools that you need, the education, but also the sharing of resources and information that we've learned from other families over the years as well. Our InfoLine staff are highly trained, caring professional staff with a wealth of information and experience, talking with families living with dementia. And the strategies and ideas that others have shared, of course, as I said. We actually connect, last year we connected with close to 3,000 calls. 3,000 contacts is what we had last year through the InfoLine, which is pretty significant. I've been with the Society now, as Catherine had said, for 11 years, and there's a wealth of experience, but connection and relationship building and sharing that we have with our clients through InfoLine. So some of the tools to help, we have a number of different fact sheets that we can connect you with. So preparing for your doctor's visit can help you to prepare, give you suggestions on maybe having a list of medications that you take with you. So you can prepare that ahead of time, write down questions that you might have. So during, when you're there at the doctor's visit, making sure that the family physician is able to break things down to you so you can understand. So we have those sorts of tools for you to use. Conversations about dementia and living alone. We do know that it can be a really tough conversation around, okay, what supports can I ensure that I have in place if I'm going to be living alone? Do I require extra help or support with transportation, meal prep? What does that look like? How can I ensure that my home is safe for me when I need it to be? The day-to-day series really is a practical series which looks at communication. It can look at personal care, giving you tips and strategies around communication, around personal care, and around mealtime as well. The long-term care series is an additional tool which we can share with family members if they're looking at alternative solutions to living with dementia. If it's not in your home, if it's moving out of your home that you've lived in for a number of years, what does that process look like? We have documents on adjusting, communicating with staff, settling in, a variety of different resources to help with that process. The All About Me is a wonderful guide. It's actually All About Me, or This Story, The Story is Mine, which is an adaptation for First Nations families. And so really All About Me is a resource for people to be able to tell their story so that they have a social history. You have a social history of the person with dementia. So we cover things like their needs, their likes and dislikes, as well as their interests, and their prior work history as well. All of those things that make us who we are. It's All About Me. It's a really wonderful resource. And of course, our resources are culturally appropriate as well. The next slide that we look at actually is sort of a sample. So it's a sample journey of how people come to InfoLine, what that looks like, the type of questions that people may have when they connect with us. So what we thought we'd do is the first one here, if we look at it as a timeline, and the dots are sort of the first 3 calls of InfoLine coming through. So the theme for the first call is memory concerns, okay? So a person recognizes that there may be some changes that they're experiencing. So what do I do about that? So a person, what we may do is we may send them the 10 symptoms or the 10 signs of Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And they may also ask us, so what are the warning signs, but also how do I go about getting a diagnosis? So that could be the first point of entry for that person and then their journey with us through InfoLine. The second point really looks at coping with a diagnosis. I really like to learn more about this. Can you help me? Can you help me figure this out? And also the desire to connect for those people who have a recent diagnosis, they're in the early stage. They call us, and we frequently get these calls. I'd really like to connect with others. And that's so important for a person to be able to talk about their experience with another individual who gets it, who is sharing a similar journey. So we can help with that communication piece and that connection piece. So finally, the third sample journey here is a person that indicates that they need additional support. And so they say, okay, they call up and they ask about home care. How do I go about getting home care? So then, of course, we help them with that navigation piece, and we talk about different types of support. Are they looking for a day program? Are they looking for, maybe it's respite, maybe they need a little bit of a break. So what does that look? What types of respite are available in the community as well? So those are the sorts of things that we discuss. Moving over here, we actually have a little quote from an individual, a little snapshot of what their journey meant to them. So this individual says, from the first phone call to the last, I was greeted by pleasant voices, kind words, understanding, and caring. And we have many statements like that we receive through the InfoLine. And so it's important for us to know that your needs are being met and that they are being met by a compassionate and understanding person on the other end with a wealth of information. So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit before we go into our questions, people come to InfoLine for various reasons. So they may be concerned about their own changes in memory, or in getting an assessment with their family doc. It could be a family member looking for strategies around safety. So dad really loves to go out for a walk. What are some of the things that I can do to ensure that dad continues to get his walk, which we know is really important for him? So we look at, we address those concerns. So the point is, everybody's journey will be unique. So we really meet you where you are in your journey, and we continue to follow up, okay, with support along the way. We provide intentional follow-up within 6 months, or sometimes that may be sooner rather than later, depending upon what your needs are. We develop relationships with people living with dementia, with their families. So sometimes a situation may be new to you, and you may feel uncertain about it. You may feel uncertain about the next step. So what I say to you is give us a call, because we have the knowledge backed by years of experience to continue to support you and your family with your varying needs and concerns. So give us a call through our InfoLine. All of us could probably talk forever about InfoLine, but this is just a short little snapshot, a little review of exactly what that service is. So now we'd like to invite you to ask some questions.
So thanks so much, Kara. That was a fantastic presentation. So much information about what our InfoLine can offer and what we can offer to folks that would like to call. And we do have some questions from our viewers that are coming through right now. So I'm just going to start with those, and as we go along, if more come in, we'll keep on trucking with the questions. So the first question that we have is, my sister is in denial of her problem. I am trying to get her to understand that I am here for her and want to help her. So how could we, with using InfoLine, support this person and with this question?
Oh, that's a great question. And actually, it's a question that we get quite frequently.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that everybody processes information very differently. So as sister is concerned about her sibling, she may have processed that information. She really wants to support her sister through that process. But if it's a recent diagnosis, her sibling may need a little bit more time to sort of move through that. Because I think with any type of diagnosis, any type of condition that we may get in life, we need a little bit of time to process it. I like what she said, though. She said that she wants to be supportive. And so being there, showing up, letting her know that she is there, that in and of itself is a really great, it's a great support for the sister. And, you know, we really can't force somebody to address the diagnosis. They need to have that time to sort of sit with it for a while, to be comfortable with it. And then you may be surprised. Your sibling may actually start to reach out with you and really appreciate the fact that you've already connected with us through InfoLine and you have a wealth of information already prepared for her. That's the hope. That's the hope.
And I always say to people, look, you know, if you're worried about something, if you're worried about yourself, if you're worried about, you know, how do I start these conversations? If you're worried about how do I support somebody as they transition through the disease itself, call the InfoLine and we will talk you through, you know, some of the helpful hints, some of the do's and don'ts, some of the tricks of the trade, if you will, that can make that conversation and time to have purpose and meaning and happiness. Because ultimately with your sibling, right? Those are the things we want to do. We want to support and through love.
Yeah.
So here's a second question. And it's kind of a two-part question. One is, what if I don't want to follow up every month? Does it have to happen every month? And the second part of the question is, and if I get questions before you call, what should I do?
Oh, that's great. No, you don't need a follow-up call every 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. What we do is we check in with you. So when we have that ultimate conversation, we introduce our services and find out any, you know, check in with you to see what questions you may have, what resources you need. We will ask you, and when would you like a follow-up? And then you can choose to say, oh, well, you know what, I think I'm doing pretty good right now. So maybe in about 6 months or so, or maybe in the fall, that sort of thing. And we can check in at that point. So it doesn't have to be a regular check-in. However, as I said earlier, we do appreciate that changes can happen fairly rapidly. And so how you're supporting your family member today may be quite different even in a month's time. So you may need a little bit of extra support. That's okay. We can give you a call back. All right, so that's quite easy. So if you happen to have questions that come up in between, so if I'm not scheduled to call you back in 3 months, call me within that 3 months. And that's one of the things that we say. If something comes up within the 3 months, feel free to call, email us. You can send a note in the mail. I would recommend maybe an email or a call is probably the fastest way to do it, or pop into the society. You know, you can have an appointment, call us up, make an appointment, and we can sit down and address those concerns sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So this question came through and it says, how can we encourage my dad to exercise because we know it's important? Is that something that the InfoLine can talk through with us as a family?
Yes, yeah. We know that for people, all people, exercise is key to get the oxygen, you know, and the blood flow to the brain, and it helps reduce stress and helps us, you know, feel good. But it's great to maintain our health, or our overall health and well-being. It's very key. So we can sit with you if you're with us, or talk with you about some strategies on how to get dad more active. So it doesn't, like, we can go through a plan as far as having a small goal, and having it small so that it's obtainable, and making sure that the activity is something that dad would enjoy doing. So maybe it's going out and pulling the weeds or gardening. That in and of itself is an active exercise. It doesn't have to be walking 5K. We can come up with some really creative solutions to ensure that your dad is getting the exercise that he needs.
Yeah. And so by calling the info line, what that allows us to do is learn a little bit about your dad, learn a little bit about your family, right? What are the activities that are most meaningful to dad? And then we would talk through looking at your specific situation, the ideas that we could kind of give you to have in your back pocket to see, what works best for you guys to get dad exercising. Just as Kara said, it's so important for stress management and sleep, and just it gives you more energy. I know that sounds silly, but we know that exercise supports a healthy lifestyle, and so by calling the info line, we can talk you through the specifics of just who you are and who your dad is, so we find something that could work for them. Here's a great one. My father has vascular dementia, and I thought you only supported people with Alzheimer's disease because that's what your name is.
So Catherine is an education coordinator too. So am I. And so I think that's one of the most frequently asked questions or comments that Catherine and I and the rest of us get when we're in the community. And so, of course, we are called the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada. But we support people who are living with a variety of different causes of dementia. So it's not just Alzheimer's disease. We don't just support people with Alzheimer's disease. We support people with a diagnosis of vascular dementia, frontotemporal lobe dementia. It could be Lewy body disease. So it's not just one type of dementia. And what I usually say to folks is that, I think maybe we went with the Alzheimer's Society because Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. So great question. We support families living with a variety of different causes of dementia, and we encourage you to call us.
Yeah, and it's funny. This type of their dad has vascular dementia, and what I always say to people is our name says Alzheimer's, but we go from A to Z or A to V,
or A to V. Honestly, yeah.
Right? So anything in between that, we have education, information, and supports on. So all you have to do is call, and we can tailor it again. So it goes back to it goes back to the idea of making it specific for you. And as we're going through this and talking, we hear so much, come in and see us, or make an appointment and see us, or call us. And of course, keeping in mind too that COVID right now has everything a little topsy-turvy. So we aren't open regular hours and regular visits, but if you call this information line, we can, get in contact with you, because things are still a little topsy-turvy right now, but the Alzheimer's Society is open, and we are here, just in a little bit of a different way, just as we are today, right? Here's a question. Do I need a referral to speak with someone on the info line?
Right. No, you do not need a referral. You can self-referral, and you can self-refer at any time.
Yeah.
That was quick. That was short.
A quick and easy one. And here's
it doesn't have to be complicated. That's an easy one. I like that one.
Here's the next one, and it's probably going to be pretty easy for you as well. Is any of the information that I share with the information line confidential?
It's all confidential. Anything that you share with us at the Alzheimer's Society is confidential. And it's important that you know that, so that you know that your information, your story, your journey is secure. It's safe with us. So really important for people to know that it's kind of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That's right.
It's the same idea. Confidentiality is key. Really, really important.
And that's going to be one of the things that you'll hear from the staff that you talk with, especially in the very beginning.
Each time. Yeah, each time when you're introduced to the InfoLine, the first thing that's part of our intake process is to go through confidentiality. So if you're calling us for the first time, that's one of the things that we do on intake, is to talk about confidentiality and reasons why we might break confidentiality. And so that's important to know as well. So the reason why we would break confidentiality is if we thought your safety was at risk, or the risk of your family member with dementia was at risk. So we would go through a process of letting you know what we would do to make sure that you're safe, and we would include you as part of that process to ensure that you become safe, or that your family member becomes safe.
So here's our last question now, Kara. I am a healthcare professional and would like to refer a client. Is there a process I need to follow? And can I request that a follow-up report come back to me?
Yes. So if you are a family physician, a primary care physician, or you could be a social worker or a nurse, and you wanted to refer somebody to the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. So when you have the conversation with your patient, with your client, and you ask them for permission to be referred to the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. And sometimes with those direct referrers, we have info kits that we've already given them. So during that process, the family physician would give them an information kit, so at least they have a sense of what we do, which is great. And so, of course, what will happen is once that referral comes to us, once we receive that referral, we will contact them directly within 3 weeks of that referral being received by us. And so the family physician or nurse or social worker who refers us can ask for a follow-up report on that referral form. And so what we would do is then make the contact with the client, let them know about our programs and services, and after we make that initial call, we would then send them back a follow-up report to give them some brief details on what we did as far as support of their patient or their client. And actually, for family physicians, they can go to our website and download our electronic first link referral form. It's actually on our website. So they can print it off, they get their client or their patient's name, their signature of consent, and then they can fax it to us at the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, Kara, too, having this kind of two-way street with a specialist, a family doc, a nurse practitioner, a nurse, OT, PT, any of those health professionals that we see coming and supporting persons living with this disease or their care partner, having this two-way street to allow them to know, what's happened, it only makes the next visit with that health professional hopefully smoother, easier. There's some guidance there, so people can really get down to asking new questions or things that have come up instead of kind of going back and re-going through some of the information that, that they've heard the first time.
Exactly.
We recognize how overwhelming a diagnosis can be. And so just having someone to be able to say, let's sit and talk this through, can take the pressure off, because we'll sit for as long as we need. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 75 minutes, right? We can do that.
Yep. And we have.
And we have, yeah. And we just had a question pop in again.
Oh, lovely.
Here we go. Can my father and I speak to you together about my mom?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So we've actually had teleconference, and like pre-COVID, we would invite you into the Alzheimer's Society. But yes, we can definitely. And now with other forms of social media, we might be able to make that happen through Zoom for Healthcare as well. Those are the sorts of things that we're looking at as far as connecting with you. Most definitely, we've often had. Sometimes we have more than 2 family members who come to us, and we can have, instead of getting 2 different sources of information or somebody viewing the information very differently, it is actually kind of nice to have 2 people coming in or calling, so that one person can take notes and one person can ask questions. So yeah, we definitely do that. We do it quite often.
We're pretty flexible.
Yeah, we are.
And we're going to do everything that we can that works best for you, right? So if having an extra set of ears, someone to take notes, someone to sit and listen or be part of the conversation, we're gonna do whatever we can to best support you all as a family. So it could be dad, a child who are trying to support mom, right? So we're gonna do everything we can to support everybody on that journey. All right, well, thank you so much. We're coming really close to the end of our talk here, and we always like to leave a little bit of extra time so that if people do have some thought processes going on and more questions that come up. So Kara, I want to say thank you again. Such a wonderful, full presentation of information. That's just great. It was so thoughtful. The questions that